is sports rigged? Are sports scripted? Right? I feel like we talk about this, we hear about it time and time again, and it's never a it's never a clear-cut answer, right? People will design this and say that, and you'll see a video and this, that, and the third. But I think there's like this real issue right now going on with the scripting and the rigging and the propaganda behind it. And I say that because of this. When you watch sports, what are you watching sports for? Are you watching to see your favorite player, your favorite team? Do you still get entertained by just watching the game, bringing family and friends over, ordering pizza, wings, subs, whatever you do? You come together, you enjoy the experience with your family, your friends, or are you watching the game because you got a 16 leg parlay that you just put $2 on and you think you're going to win $100,000? These are the dynamics that need to be understood when we get into these conversations, whether or not sports are rigged. Now, obviously, we know that there has been certain refs. We know there's been certain situations that have been influenced by money, right? We know players that have been influenced by money. We get that. But I think the overall scheme as far as the conversation now was so driven by people who are disgruntled and upset because they've either lost money or they didn't hit their 16 or 8 leg parlay or whatever the hell it is. But it has to do with money, right? And that's the sad part about the whole thing, because I really had to sit back and think about this. Whenever I do a stream now, especially football, whenever I do a stream now, it starts depending on who's winning. And I'll say this: I went back. I went back and looked at some of my old streams. If it was a more popular team like a Chiefs, my Bills, Packers, I mean, you could probably even get into like the Vikings, even the Lions now, right? Chargers. I noticed that whenever they started losing in the game, the uptick for the word script or rigged increased. So my question was why? You know what? Why is this happening? And so then, as I'm going back through the comments and as I'm going back through and reading the chat, because it's still all there, it doesn't go anywhere, it's still all there. I'm seeing, hey, Jay, who do you got for the over? Jay, what's the over? Jay, what's the under? What's the current live money line? So listen, I think if sports are rigged, the people who bet money have made it that way. I think the people who don't put money into the game, who actually watch the game to enjoy it, who actually love to watch sports just to watch sports and have a good time and enjoy themselves, I don't think they give a damn whether or not the game is rigged, because they're enjoying the game. The big thing that I see as far as with people who say so much in regards to rigging and scripted is because they either bet or have bet on the game and lost money. You never hear, this is the big thing for me. You never hear the person who won money say the game is rigged. You never hear the person whose team just won the game say the game is rigged or scripted. It's always the losing party. So at what point, right, does the talk of the rigging or the scripted stop? It's a question. It's a real question. Shout out to you, Darren. Let's go, bro. Shout out to Purple. Let's go, Purple in the house. Let's go. Ernie says, I feel like yes, but the fan in me says no. Go back and look at that Lakers versus Sacramento back in the day. Kobe fouled right to the dome of Bibby, no foul. Once again, I'm not saying, right? And before we go further, make sure you guys hit that like, hit that thumbs up. I do appreciate the support. I'm not saying that certain elements and certain parts of the game are not rigged, because we know whenever you have money involved in anything, right? There's a level of influence that that creates. So yeah, you may have a rogue ref that has been incentivized by money. You may have a player that's incentivized by money. We've seen this situation over the years, right? Not even year, decades. So the real question is, why has have we seen the uptick of the conversation now, right? Why do we keep seeing rigged now? Why do we keep seeing scripted now? You didn't see it 10 years ago. You didn't see it 5 years ago. Maybe three, right after the situation in 2020. I think that's when it really, really started to pick up. Well, Jay, why would that be? Well, that's the same time that all the online sports books got their license to be in different states. So as the time goes on, you start seeing this narrative being pushed how games are rigged and games are scripted. But once again, you don't hear this from the winners. You hear this from the losers. And I'll tell you this, we'll break it out even further. Even the big time betters, right? The guys who make millions of dollars, they don't ever come out and say the game is rigged. Why is that? Why is that? It's a real question. Shout out to Adam, since people don't understand how bookies made their money. They don't care who wins in team sports. So the funny thing about this is I was actually um I was actually having a conversation with Frank, my buddy Franklin, and we were talking about, things being rigged and scripted and things like that. And I basically said this. I said, "All right." He said, "Why is it that Vegas always knows?" That was his statement. He said, "Why does Vegas always know?" And I said, "Well, Vegas always knows because they understand. They have all the information to make the decision." So when I say that, right, we're not talking from a point of, oh, all right, well, we just know that Texas Tech and Kansas is playing tonight. No, Vegas understands from top to bottom everything that happens on this court. Even before these players step out on the court, they know who was sick, they know who was injured, they know who's walking with a little limp because they may have twisted their ankle last game. They know all the finite details, all the little stupid shit that people don't think about. Vegas knows. So that's why they're able to make these lines and be, oh, it's, this team by 15, and they just so happen to end up winning by 18. They know that stuff and they compile all that information. And now it's even worse because everything's done by AI. So now they compile all this information that's done through computer models, and the computer's looking at past history, it's updating with current events, and then you have your line set, you have your prop bets, you have everything set and how Vegas wants it when it comes to betting on these games. Now, sure, you throw in an incentive to a ref, you throw in an incentive to a player, then yeah, you have a situation where things can be a little questionable and be weird because someone misses a penalty or someone creates a penalty when they shouldn't have, or you have a player who just has a bad night, even though he's been great for the last 2 weeks. That's the stuff that makes people think it's rigged. But when we talk about the whole scheme of things, when we talk about every sport, right? Because people love to, well, it's football. It's just football. No, no, it's not college at all. Well, if NFL's rigged, well, college is rigged too. If NFL football is rigged, then college football is rigged. And if NBA basketball is rigged, then so is college basketball. To hell, college wrestling is rigged then. Because when you have that conversation, when you start going down that path, well, you just have to say that everything is. You can't specifically sit here and tell me, well, Jay, yeah, the NFL is rigged and it's scripted. and just in entirety, and not tell me that college isn't as well. It has to make sense from a grand scheme of things, and that's why, to me personally, it's not in the sense of the whole conglomerate is scripted or rigged. I think that yes, you do have certain individuals who can influence certain plays, who can influence certain penalties when they have their moment.